Hey everybody, Bennett from the Bonehead podcast, and today we're going to have a look at another Touchline Tactics article. Games Workshop on the Warhammer community have dropped a few articles looking at Blood Bowl teams, and last week they did the Imperial Nobility one. We had a good look at it and it was quite good fun to read through. So there's a few more on there and we're going to check them out as well. And today we're going to look at Black Orcs. So you guys will know that I love the Black Orcs team. Oh no, I nearly wore this. I nearly had my Black Mountain Bucks t-shirt on today. That's gutting. That's absolutely gutting. Yeah, Black Orcs, I love them. Binned a ton of time running Black Orcs on Blood Bowl 3. We played through at least one season with them on the Bonehead Championship. The Black Mountain Bucks were in there. I played one season. Oh yeah, I got to the semi-finals. All the semi-finals? Yeah, semi-finals at Wobble with them and lost 1-0 to Underworld. That was brutal. That was absolutely brutal. And yeah, Black Orcs are one of my favourite teams. I do think they need a little juice. I think they need a little something, but I don't know. I really like them. They're big and brawly and brutey. So let's have a look at the Games Workshop article on the Warhammer community. So Touchline Tactics. How to biff with Black Orcs in Blood Bowl. Well, welcome back to Touchline Tactics, where we get the inside scoop on the playstyles and peccadillos of your favourite Blood Bowl teams. We assess their game plans, look at which skills to advance, and take our top picks of star players to bring to the gridiron. In this instalment, we're taking a look at the Black Orcs team after they kindly requested that we give them some publicity. Let's take a look at what happens when you take the meanest orcs around and release them onto the gridiron. So, if you're not familiar with Black Orcs, they're a wonderful team. You get a trained troll. You get 6 Black Orc. I think they're just called Black Orcs, but I always refer to them as brawlers because they have the brawler skill and grab, and they are just strength 4 dominance. They're only movement 4, which means they're quite slow. They're not as fast as the big and blockers that are on the Orc team. So you've kind of got this mesh of 6 strength 4 brawler grab pieces that are just able to, generally speaking, control the line of scrimmage and redeploy. And they're backed up by goblin bruisers, which are basically goblins with thick skull for an extra 5k. Absolute bargain. And they're just standard goblins, and standard goblins are brilliant. I do definitely think this team needs a little bit of something else, just a couple of goblin runners with movement 7 or something, just to give them a little bit of speed, because they can get bogged down very, very, very quickly. And it's a team very similar to Lizardmen, in that once your skinks are gone for lizards, you're in a bit of a tough place. It's not quite as bad for Black Orcs, but it isn't much better. All right, so let's read the article. Playstyle. Black Orcs mix a bash heavy playstyle with a dash or 2 of devious tactics focused on grinding down the opposing team as you try to march up the pitch. With access to 6 Black Orcs as a strong, durable front line supported by cheap and agile goblins to act as ball carriers, they are a difficult team to bully. Yeah, that's fair. The downside is that the Black Orcs are slow and can be easily mispositioned, while the Goblins are fragile if less exposed. Recovering from a mistake can be difficult, especially against dashed teams, which the Black Orcs struggle to lock down. So I can definitely attest to this, right? So on the one hand, I'm a Skaven coach, right? So playing against Black Orcs is... It's not as scary as some other teams. Like, I think lizards are obviously worse because they've got the movement to back it up. Black Orcs are not easy. They're never an easy matchup. Black Orcs are tier 2 and they belong in tier 2. It's not a gimme, but you've got 6 Black Orcs and probably a troll who are going up against your line rats. If you're playing Skaven, your Edge team needs to disengage. The thing is, though, with Black Orcs, there's 6 of them. They are only movement 4. So you're not going to be able to get away from everything. You're going to be giving your opponent 1 or 2 blocks a turn and a blitz with a strength 4 thing. So you're going to be taking a few hits from Black Orcs, but dude, if you can break through with the movement 7, 8, 9 player, they're not catching you. They're not catching you. And that's what they mean here by saying recovering from a mistake can be difficult. If your Black Orcs get into a bit of a mosh pit with any team that can take it, or simply they just don't get armor breaks, you're absolutely pigeonholed as a Black Orc coach. There's no way around it. It's tough. It's good fun, and it's a brilliant challenge because you need to balance. And this is the fun bit about Black Orcs, is if you can get your line of scrimmage just rolling, you just pass the blocks down the line, If you can contain, it is indomitable and unstoppable. But if you don't get the armor breaks, you don't get the chance to contain, you double skull a couple of times, your opponent can disengage and then break through, and all you're really left to do is hope that your movement 6 goblin has got enough movement to get at whatever's broken through. All right, on to the next bit. So the next bit is tactics. So let's move my little face down here. Tactics. As the eponymous name suggests, Black Orcs are the core of the team. 6 strength 4 players are a deadly threat that come with Brawler for some reliability and Grab to set up further blocks if the first doesn't work. When the ball needs to be moved, the Goblin Bruisers come in with Dodge and Stunty. They can slip through the enemy line, while Thick Skull adds more survivability. Don't let that fool you though, they're still pretty fragile if caught separated from their teammates. Extra muscle comes in the form of a trained troll, strong and able to throw a goblin. They are ideal for assisting the Black Orcs in removing the players from the pitch. Alright, I mean, we've talked through most of this. Brawler does help, so when you're making 2-die blocks, and you will be making 2-die blocks most of the time with the Black Orcs, then it's almost a 2.5-die block, so it's not bad. It's not bad. I quite like Brawler, but only as a free skill, really. To be honest with you, on a big guy, if you're starved for SPP or don't want to take Mighty Blow, or if they don't have it, or Guard or something like that, then yeah, Brawler's okay, but certainly not a top pick. It's a good free skill, and with 6 Brawlers and Grab, you are definitely able to make a Cage of Pain. Goblins, yeah. And what happens if you get stuck, if you get separated? You just have to hope that your strength 2 goblin with Dodge and Stunty can get to where he needs to and can pull off whatever he's trying to do, whether they're playing defense and that, you know, you're using him as a safety and you're trying to run a goblin into to take a 2-die up hit on somebody, or you're just like, I have no choice here but to try and run and hope that they don't get a good block on me. It does happen. Now, the interesting thing here is having that troll makes it very, very, very interesting as well. So this is something we haven't talked about because, yeah, it's not the most reliable thing. But the really cool thing about Black Orcs is you've got that ground game, you've got that stunty dodge game, which is very exciting. But you also have the opportunity to paratroop a goblin behind the line to play defense, to sort of, you know, harangue the ball carrier. I love that. That's really good fun. You've got the old throw mate at opportunity at a 1-turn touchdown, and you've got the potential of throwing a goblin at the opposing ball carrier as well. Like, it's okay. The rules change to throw teammate, where if you knock down one of your own guys, it's a turnover, is a bit of a slight nerf for that strategy. And your goblins are so important because they're just very important. They're your runners and your safeties. Any chance you kind of run to take another one out on your own end is going to struggle, because if you are buying a troll and you're buying 6 Black Orcs, you're probably only got 4 goblins, and that's your lineup. You might get a 5th goblin. You really need a 6th goblin, because you definitely want to be taking a cheeky punt every now and again. By punt I mean a little foul. So it's useful as an additional strategy, but it's definitely not the one. Foreshadowing again here. When it comes to tactics, bribery and corruption should be mentioned. Black Orc teams have cheap access to bribes, so fouls are a valuable weapon in the team's arsenal. When a valuable opposition player is on the floor, a ward answer, for example, they're just asking for a goblin to give them a good kicking. Yeah, and another way that this team got ever so slightly nerfed by everything that happened in the goblin space, right? Black Orcs level up. You're going to end up with a couple with guard. You want some guard, you want some mighty blow. So that guard used to combo really well, because you'd end up with a troll with guard and a couple of Black Orcs with guard, which meant you could reliably get +1, +2 to your fouls with goblins. The idea is you brawler them down, you grab them to a good position, and you've got your guard pieces there to add to the fouls. That's no longer the rule. So you lose a little bit of that, but I mean, you're still able to position to be able to get a good couple of assists on that. So skilling up, right, there we go. This is the juicy bit. As the bashing half of your team, Black Orcs should focus on skills that will help them in this role. Block, guard, and stand firm are solid choices, while tackle will help lock down the more agile teams. Oh, okay. Here we go. I think we did some actual stats on this one. Block, when you've got a brawler piece, is a really tough pill to swallow. And the way I have always run Black Orcs and the way I see them developing, you want 2 with block to be your blitzers. Okay, you've got to build blitzers, basically, is what you have to do. 2 take guards straight away. Those are the ones who are in the middle of the huddle giving the assists, and then a couple with mighty blow. So the idea is you've got your guard, your block guys on the wings. Okay, they're ready to be mobile. You've got the guard guys in the middle. They're able to make you have a successful 2 or 3 die block with block, and then you've got a couple with mighty blow as well, who are there to take the first hit, because you line up and you've got these 2 little killing teams. It's really cool. Like, the mighty blow guy has a go. doesn't necessarily work. You pass it on, your block guy can then drop him down, your guard guy can then redeploy a whole 4 squares to give somebody else a 2-die block or a 3-die block, and it's a cool little combo. The idea is you want to build a couple of blitzers, and those go the vein of block into tackle. Now a movement 4, strength 4 blitzer is fine, but relying on them to be a safety is a bit of a struggle because that movement is limited. That's why having access to tackle is really, really useful, but it's definitely not the first thing I would take on Black Orcs, because just trying to get them in the right spot is not always going to be the best way. However, we've got goblins. For a goblin, dirty player +1 and sneaky get a perfect skills for fouling. Saving up for sure hands as a secondary gives the team a reliable ball carrier, but also a very tempting target for the opposition. I love these goblins. I think these are the best players in the whole league to take a random general. You get a couple of TDs, you get a casualty or a TD and an MVP, and you're sitting there at 7-6 SPP. Take a punt. Just take a punt on a random general. Tackle, we've just mentioned. Okay, having tackle on a big hitter, really useful. Having tackle on a movement 6, 7, 8 dodge stunty piece, you can at least put tackle where it needs to be. So it's going to force your opponent to take a block at you rather than make the dodge out. Really quite useful if you roll it on a random. Sure hands, you get the ball carrier block. You get a little 2-die up block machine. Same with wrestle. Kick is also very effective. There's a ton of really good skills, so taking a random general is absolutely the best way to be. Obviously, dirty player is great, and sneaky get as a default is not bad. The goblins are a lot of fun. If you're playing them on digital, like BB3, you can wait, right? You can get 3 games in a night. You can brew up your goblins quite quickly. Tabletop, I think you're generally going to want to pull the trigger as soon as you can because goblins are not long for this world, and if you can get them to block or wrestle or become something really useful, that gets very cool very quickly. On a troll, guard is always valuable. Yeah, definitely. Grab is worth, but it's guard for a troll. If you somehow manage to swing your way to a 12 SPP, then yeah, taking block is great, but guard will help the rest of the team, because then you can go guard troll next to one of your mighty blow blockers, and you're just able to feed that line. But remember, that line is going to be 7 of your players, so it's most of the work needs to be done by that 7, and if they can isolate that front 7, you can be in a bit of a pickle. Right, top 5 star players here. Let's see. Nobbler Blackwort. So block and dodge make Nobbler less likely to be knocked down, while his relative quickness and chainsaw allow him to chase down and clatter a fast ball carrier that gets past. Yeah. Black Orcs are a tough roster in that they are not often going to be down a huge amount of cash. If you go for a troll, 6 Black Orcs, let's just say you can swing 3 rerolls. I think you might have to start with 2 rerolls in that instance. You're not often going to have a spare goblin, which means when one of your goblins, or God forbid, a Black Orc gets taken out, you're going to be down to a journeyman anyway. So you're going to be around 1 million TV forever. So you're very unlikely to be having a huge amount of SPP, huge amount of inducements to be able to take us off. So the cheap star player and a chainsaw, cracking job. Fungus the Loon, okay, right. Fungus is brilliant, and Nobbler, Fungus and Bomber Dribble Snot are all pretty affordable. They're all just gonna help cause carnage, and that's something that Black Orcs can double down on, especially with the Bribery and Corruption, which means you get to reroll the 1. It's really, really, really cool. Ripper Bolgrot, Ripper's great. Varag Gulcher is great as well, but I mean, I'm gonna be that guy because we all know that when it comes to star players, bombers are kind of where it's at, even though they've been nerfed. This boy here, Bomber Dribble Snot, for a Black Orc team, if your league allows star players, he's 50k for the most effective bomber ever. And when you think about running him for Black Orcs, he's not going to help you win, but he will absolutely positively help you from losing, because he is going to warp the game. Now, I like Fungus for this as well, because ball and chains can cause a lot of carnage, but a bomber is going to warp the game in one of 2 ways. He's either going to do exactly what you want him to do, and it's going to be really successful, and he's going to take out a couple of players and just, you know, cause carnage, or your opponent's going to spend a turn redirecting their activations at taking out the bomber. To be fair, the same is true of Fungus the Loon, and that's not always a terrible thing, because it kind of buys you half a turn, and if they have to overinvest and buys you a whole turn, you've kind of time walked them for the same price basically as one of your goblins. One of your goblins are 45k and this guy's 50k, so for 5k more you get a goblin that can throw bombs very effectively. So if you're running Black Orcs, you can take Bomber, and more importantly, if you can take Bomber and still look at yourself in the mirror, he is the best pick. All right, so Touchline Tactics Black Orcs. I tell you what, there's nothing in there I disagree with at all. It's a little bit light, but then I like detail. And if you want to know more about Black Orcs, we've got plenty of videos of gameplay. I think I've got some Blood Bowl 3 stuff, but also just like we've got leagues and team breakdowns and stuff. I love Black Orcs, and both of these Touchline Tactics articles that we've seen so far have really made me just want to play these teams. And it's not because of where they start, it's just absolutely so exciting when you can start seeing where you can take them. And I think that's the most exciting thing about Blood Bowl. Like, you've got this starting team and then you're like, how am I going to brew out my franchise to be the team I want it to be? And yeah, I absolutely love it. I do wholeheartedly think this team needs a Goblin Runner, 0 to 2, 55k, Goblin with Sprint, or you know, something, or movement 7, just something a little bit juicier so that you can brew up the pock. The Lizardman got the Chameleon Skink with, you know, one worse movement, but has that on the ball kind of actual 3 squares of movement on receive. We could have used something like that in Black Orcs just to get them kind of extra juicy, but I mean, it's a really fun team. It is, you're going to be punching up a little bit, but they've got a lot of character. They're the strongest stunty team, I think, is probably the way to think about it. Anyway, let me know what you think about Black Orcs, and we'll be back soon with more Bubba content. Happy blocking, happy brawlering.